This is Robert Murdlash of the MindShare Learning Board, Canada's Learning and Technology e-magazine, and welcome to This Week in Canadian EdTech, MindShare TV's very special edition as we are honored to have join us for a MindShare Learning Moment, Jason Trinh, who is the coordinator of global competencies in STEM and ICT at the Toronto District School Board, my alma mater, for a sneak peek and inspiration behind his involvement with ISTE as one of the featured speakers happening later this June. We're honored to be media partners. Jason, thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Robert. It's great to connect virtually and talk about ISTE, which is less than a month away, which is coming really quickly at us.
Absolutely, and we'll be hosting our Can-Am event on Monday, June 26th. For those of you who are attending at 5:30, ping me if you'd like to learn more. A little bit about Jason Trinh. He's the coordinator of global competencies in STEM ICT at the Toronto District School Board in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And in this role, he supports digital learning across the district through the design and delivery of professional learning resources and coaching support. Then award-winning educator. He is a recipient of the Premier's Award for Teaching Excellence and the ISTE Digital Equity Award. I remember when you got that. I think it was a year or so ago. It was named to the ISTE Top 20 to Watch list. Trinh specializes in digital media creation to support educators in transforming their teaching practice. As an active participant in his professional learning networks, he contributes to the Google Innovator, Google Trainer, Apple Distinguished Educator, and the ISTE Community Leader communities. And he shares his passion for creativity, technology, and diversity, equity, inclusion as a workshop facilitator, digital creator, and speaker across Canada. Wow, I'm exhausted just reading your bio, let alone doing all that awesome work. Kudos for embracing the growth mindset and doing what you do as an ed leader.
Thank you. No, like it's you write these bios, you keep on forgetting about what's there, and you start to add more things to it as you had more experiences, and it ends up being this long laundry list of things. But yeah, thanks for reading that and sharing that with the audience.
My pleasure. Well, you caught my attention when I was preparing for the ISTE conference and looking through the materials, and then here I saw your name flash across the screen. I thought, I really need to connect with Jason and talk to him about how he got there. What was your journey like? Tell me about some of the mentors you perhaps had in the past. And it doesn't happen overnight, does it?
No, and I think like ISTE might be a new sort of organization for a lot of folks in Canada. A lot of the times, it does stand for International Society for Technology and Education, and it is an international group. So Canada, we're part of it, and I'm so appreciative of the events of the meetups you have to bring Canadians together at ISTE. My involvement with ISTE really came with just sort of like trying to get connected with like-minded people beyond my immediate circle. I know social media is one great way to connect, but it's so much better to connect in real life, right? When you actually are in the same space with people. So I attended my first ISTE conference, and I was blown away. I walked into the first keynote, and I still remember this feeling where it felt like a concert. There was the
Cool.
main stage, there were some great speakers, the energy, the excitement, it was so infectious that I was sort of hooked and wanted to be more part of this, a part of this organization, present my work one day. And so it's been an amazing journey to, start off as just an attendee and then sort of work my way as a featured speaker, where I'm really excited to share 3 different sessions with folks in Philadelphia this year. So yeah, as you pointed to, it's not an overnight piece, but it's been a great way to be able to connect with very like-minded folks from across the world and share a passion for how technology can transform student learning.
You look like you're barely out of university and you've done so much. Talk to me about mentorship and who inspired you along the way. How important is it in nurturing that growth mindset? Because it is a skill. As someone once described. Actually, and it was a question that was posed, and as I thought about it, it really is. And I hearken back to when I was in high school, and Mrs. Fogarty, my English teacher, wrote in my yearbook as a proud graduate of George Harvey at the time, the only sign of life is growth, and she drew a little flower. And I read it over 3 times and didn't know what the heck she was trying to tell me. But years later, I look back again, and I think back, and that inspired, that planted the seed, no pun intended, for the growth mindset. So you as an educator have a tremendous opportunity to make an impact through the power of your words.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, so looking back to my mentors, and I'm fortunate within the TDSB, or like we're a very large school district, largest in Canada, and there's some built-in programs like the Digital Lead Learner program that I had the fortunate honor of now coordinating that program. But the mentorship really started when I became a member of that program. I remember
Right.
one of the events was TDSB Google Camp. This is where Google for Education,
Yeah.
Gaphy, G Suite
Yeah.
first came out. Leaders like Kevin Bradbeer in the TDSB, coordinated this event where teachers could go out on a Saturday and learn. And that's when I first heard about the DLL program. Mentors such as Wayne Liu were presented
Hmm.
there, and I was amazed that these people were doing these amazing things. So the DLL program has been a key part of mentorship for me. So and in that collective, there's mentors, there's program coordinators, and being part of this program and this professional learning really, continued my growth. I
Right.
continued to be challenged, and I connected with other people as well. And that community piece is so important. Like often when learning something new, if you don't have, the cheerleader, you don't have somebody, who can sympathize, help pick you up off your feet when you have a lesson that bombs in the negative
Hmm.
sense. The DLF program has been really a key piece of my growth. And like in the current role that I'm in, which is mind-boggling, is that now I'm the one that's sort of leading the charge here and taking this group through the next set of years. So yeah, that's really what shaped me. Is there's been so many great leaders within the TDSB. I'm fortunate to be in a school board so large that there are people that look like me in terms of being in leadership roles. There are people that think similar to me, and those things are very important. I think in terms of maintaining that growth mindset you talked about, and also maintaining that sort of drive to always want to learn and keep growing.
Thank you for that. So you got involved in ISTE, and you're part of ISTE has a wonderful professional learning community with various categories that you might find of interest. I know STEM's a passion of yours. Talk to me about that element of it and design thinking.
Yeah, so I think like within education technology, as we both know, and probably the audience listening knows, is that you can't get away from EdTech these days. Even the most tech reluctant teacher is using technology in some aspects. They might be taking photographs of student work, and I think pedagogical documentation is a key piece of it. With STEM, with coding in the new curriculum, and thinking about STEM skills and skills for the future, we can't get away from thinking about even like how AI might be influencing the work that we're getting. You still might be doing that pen and paper essay, but how students are generating those ideas and being able to refine their ideas, technology is influencing it completely. So I think that's the thing about ISTE, is that you might think that this EdTech is just for those folks similar to me, that nerd out when a new feature comes out in Google Edu, or something that's new that's on the iPad. But we can't escape it now, because I think digital literacy is such a key piece that it's ingrained in everything we do, from designing a lesson to delivering a lesson to providing assessment and feedback. And I think opening opening your idea of what's possible, that EdTech is integrated in so many different ways that yes, you might have a passion for STEM, but there's more than that. There's something here that's important for everybody to recognize, that it's going to really, like, what's topical of mind is generative AI, and how that really is changing education. I know when
Right.
Google search came out, that changed things as well. When Wikipedia came out, that changed things as well. So we're really at the really interesting time now of where education is changing, and just even being digitally literate to know what these tools are capable of is something that's for everybody.
Did you speaking of tools, did you happen to hear about Apple's announcement with the VR, AR hybrid capability, which, there's always a curveball that you get every so many years. And the iPad was one of them, right? So when it's really super transformational, I'm not sure this one is going to be, but it got the interest of a lot of folks.
Yeah, no, like technology has changed so rapidly, and my kids have gotten into watching Inspector Gadget. I'm not sure if you remember that show.
Yes.
And the niece Penny, has this like book that does so many things, and she has this watch that does so many different things. But as my kids are watching it now, they're like, "Oh, that's just an Apple Watch. That's just a laptop." But I remember
Right.
watching it as a kid, being like, "That is the coolest technology. It doesn't exist yet. Imagine if it did." So it just yeah, as you mentioned, how technology has changed, that story has just popped in my head where, how our students, how our own kids, how our loved ones are growing up. It's a completely different ball game now, and it's important for us as educators to be sort of on the pulse of what's happening, so we can really engage in it in a meaningful way.
And talk to me about professional learning and the importance to maintain that growth mindset and avoid the great snapback, as Dr. Steve Jordan's talked about from U of T, who also has an EdTech startup. And he expressed concern during COVID that we're at risk of this happening. And in many respects, it has, where we made great strides pre-COVID and during. I mean, online learning with elementary schools wasn't elegant, but it was crisis learning, and that it's about perspective. But to keep that learning curve, digital learning curve steep, as I like to say, is a process, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think, like, a part of me, thinks that, after going through the pandemic and having everything be like so focused on digital tools and virtual learning, you naturally might want to recoil from it, and sort of think about, not engaging so much in these tools. But I think there's a danger in that as well, as you mentioned, like in terms of thinking about instructional innovation. Um,
Hmm.
and in terms of the work that I do with the TDSB, is that our focus is that, we always need to understand the why of why we're using a digital tool, and applying it in a purposeful way. We're not using a tool for the sake of using a tool. We're not using a tool for an emergency situation. It's about really being cognizant of and understanding why we're using that tool. Why, like, this digital tool for this learning goal for the student at this time. And it's a really purposeful way. And I think when you start to think that you have all the answers, that you have that one lesson that leverages Jamboard in a really great way, it becomes static. And how technology is going, just pointing back to our previous point, is that it's going to be changing, and it's going to feel dated, and it's not going to be responsive to where students are at. So I think it's the hard part. It's a double-edged sword about
Hmm.
this craft we have of teaching, especially with digital tools, is that we can't just be so static that we're stuck. And that's where professional learning comes into place. Like, even for myself, I'm leading professional learning, but I'm also attending professional learning myself. I am
Right.
happy to, change. We talk about teacher hats and student hat. The learner hat's important. I'm okay to say that I don't know everything, or I need
Right.
to learn more about this. And I model that. I attend professional learning as a participant. I actually really enjoy it. I love not having to be in charge of what's happening, thinking about, are we on time? Is the tech working? I love just being able to go and have other people lead, and I sit there and learn. And I think we can't forget that. Like, it's a crucial part of what we do as teachers, is our ongoing learning.
Well, it's the notion of co-working or co-learning and collaboration, right? You uh, it's that mentee mentor kind of reciprocal partnership that you forge. It's so vital. We were at the ECNO conference with IT leaders, educators, and industry, and it was so collegial and collaborative. And Amber Mack spoke, uh, about the challenges, facing us in education around, AI, generative AI, and how to leverage that, and cyber safety. Right? There's opportunities, learning opportunities around cyber safety. A company like Cyber Legends has created a gamified approach to teaching elementary students on how to stay safe online,
Yeah.
right? So, but it's the notion of being creators, right? And that's someone challenged Amber Mac about, how do you leverage technology in today's world? It's about being creators, and the notion of project-based learning is the most impactful that I've seen. And we have our Schools of the Future Challenge that just wrapped up, and we've seen some incredible examples of how teachers are challenging their students around the Sustainable Development Goals. And I visited McMurray Public School and their business day competition showcase to see these kids, you know, selling their wares and having created businesses and creating cool stuff and being agents of change is really gives me hope for the future.
Definitely. And you mentioned a cool part about, the learning comes from colleagues, from other staff members, but so much learning comes from our students as well. If
Hmm.
we, bring them, like, challenge them, and we don't need to be the experts. Like, I know, like, when it comes to like some coding platforms, when I watch kids work their magic in Minecraft or whatever it may be, there's amazing things that they're building, constructing, that there are leaps and bounds where I'm at, and I'm amazed. They just picked it up, and they can be teachers to me as I go through this. And I think that's a powerful thing, and that's a great example you mentioned at McMurray, is that that students are in the mode of creating, and they then become mentors and teachers to other students as well as to us educators. It's always inspiring. And I think the days are gone where we have to be the sage on the stage. Like,
Hmm.
it's not about memorizing those facts anymore. We have the ability to search and collect and find. But it's about guiding that learning. So it's a big change, and I think that's where we're at. And it's a scary change, right? Where for teachers, this job is very intense, and it changes from day to day, and it's nice to have some predictability, but at the same time, we need to be able to be responsive to what's happening in the classroom and outside.
Absolutely, well said. And I have an agile mindset when it comes to learning and working and business, and that's how we launched this co-working innovation center, which is situated in a shopping mall. And it's a cool space that we uh, pulled together by collaborating with partners, and it really is about you know, be mindful of your stakeholder group and who that that is, between parents, kids, colleagues, industry, not-for-profits. It's complex. It's a complex world, and preparing the kids with these essential digital skills is to adapt to the and be resilient, future leaders in the increasingly complex digital world we live in is a tall order for you as an educator, but it's kudos to you for stepping up to that. Talk to me about what delegates might expect if they come to your sessions.
So I have a couple of different things I'm offering at ISTE. So one of my favorite things to do is to be a creator as well. And I think you got to model that as well. You got to be okay to try something, create something, share that with other educators and with students. And I've been really interested in creating with sound recently.
Oh,
So one of
cool.
my sessions is titled Audio Love Letters, where we talk about love languages. We talk about creating with sound, whether you're sampling sounds, recording your own voice, to create these compositions, that are great first day of school activities. So I'll be leveraging iPads, GarageBand, mobile devices, because mobile devices are great sound recording devices because they can be
Absolutely.
anywhere, or using Soundtrap as an option. And then my other sessions are focused in on looking at educator leaders and focusing on how we might be able to design more inclusive spaces. So one session is really defining and what inclusion might look like in learning spaces, and how we then might take steps to recognize that. And a lot of the work actually happens with you at first. Often when we're designing a lesson, we think about our students, but in terms of designing spaces and instruction, we got to start with ourselves. And the second session that's connected to inclusion is focusing on leveraging UDL, so the principles of UDL, and leveraging those principles to see how we might think about universal design for learning to build inclusive spaces as well.
Fantastic. And speaking of spaces, our 14th Canadian EdTech Leadership Summit in Ottawa, taking place in partnership with Ottawa U, Ottawa Catholic, and Algonquin College, is going to be focused around empowering innovative and sustainable learning environments. So I'd love to have you join us. And Peter Singh usually comes and speaks at it on one of the panels, and we'd love to have you participate in that and share some of your insights and passion, because it is, about storytelling and engaging your audience, isn't it? You are in sales in a sense, and no one likes to hear that, but Guy Kawasaki wrote a book, Selling the Dream, that we read in our master's program in EdTech about
Yeah.
storytelling.
Well, I think like storytelling is so universal, whether it's sales, whether it's in education. It's all about dealing with people and how we interact
Mhm.
with people and how do we share our point of view. Like educators are no different, right? We're
Yeah,
also in the business of people making connections. You mentioned all those different stakeholders that happen, parents, families, students, colleagues, administration. So it definitely is a key thing about, knowing who you are and how you are moving through different spaces is a skill that's like, as a life skill. Like part of the work I do with global competencies really is transferable skills, is what the ministry sort of has called it, based on the curriculum documents. And those transferable skills are like are the everyday soft skills that people talk about, the 21st century
right.
learning skills. Like it's a tall order to ask how to lead a system in doing this work, because it's like, how do you teach collaboration or communication? So a lot of the work that we're doing really is focusing on that first step of like understanding yourself as an educator, as a human first, and seeing how that might play out. But yeah, like you mentioned, like the things that we're doing in learning spaces really, really similar to other spaces that are out there as well.
Well, thank you for that, Jason. I know you've got a busy schedule, and no doubt preparation for what's up next tomorrow for you. It is a large district. Scaling is an extreme challenge, and that's part of the inspiration for the theme of our summit around sustainability and scaling, and diversity inclusion is a big part of that. And we look forward to continuing the conversation. And once again, thank you for your time this afternoon. I will look forward to seeing you live and in person at ISTE in Philadelphia uh, in the not too distant future.
Yeah, thanks for having me, for having this chat. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Philly as well.
Thank you so much. That was Jason Trinh, Coordinator of Global Competencies and STEM ICT at the Toronto District School Board, in preparation for his presentations at ISTE Live in Philadelphia. And my name is Robert Merglacci of the Mindshare Learning Report. Be sure to check out www.mindshare.learning to get your latest issue. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.